experienced a city job with Woodburn. It drives you nuts sometimes.
All right. Did you have any more before I? Because I want to make sure
I think. Oh yeah, just as an aside. Give me the floor. I'll run with it. What are you going to do with your present job when you're elected to county commissioner? Are you going to?
I've already told my present job that I will resign my position.
Okay.
I think we get your hand up.
I'm one of the enemy.
Oh.
Oh, we just
my enemies are.
Yes.
It is okay.
That opposed the expansion of the urban growth that we were. And one of the reasons they stated they needed that land was for some sort of silicon wafer type of plant. Well, guess what? They're all going to China. And once you start taking a bite out of the apple, which is the agricultural land, it's just going to be slowly eaten away. And so I appreciate the fact that you're looking forward to 25, 50, and 100 years from now. And again, what was never addressed was the infrastructure problem, that allowing growth, more growth on the other side of the freeway would complicate matters when it was not a done deal that the interchange was going to happen. And then people keep calling for another interchange north of Woodburn, which cannot happen because it's against, I think it's the state of Oregon or ODOT.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make a statement, and then we'll talk about this a little bit. Maybe you can then respond. In 1959, I joined a ship in the Navy that was based up the Sacramento, not the Sacramento River. Yeah, it was the Sacramento River. We went up the bay and into the river. And I used to have, every month, when we were in port, I used to have to go into San Francisco to pick up our secret material. And there was a tremendous amount of farms and open land at that time between where we were based and where the city was. And over the years, I went into the merchant marine after I left active duty, and I was still going into the same area to pick up material. I watched that whole area fill up with houses, freeways, all this sort of thing, and that was quite a ways, and that's 50 years. So I have a 50-year perspective on what growth does to a community and what happens to the land. And that's why when these gentlemen come in and say, well, you know, we made a wise decision by breaking our urban growth boundary and moving it out, I say, yeah, but what's going to happen 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and what's it going to look like 100 years from now? We have to have a long-term perspective on this stuff, or we're going to turn into exactly what they did in California.
What's your question?
The question is, what would you like this place to look like 50 or 100 years from now?
Oh, we talked about that.
Okay, so 50 to 100 years from now, I would see the towns fill in within their boundaries, as well as some growth into areas that is not prime farmland. I know that the population is going up. We're going to need to have homes and jobs for those people. But there will still be family farms in the good soil in North Marion County 100 years from now. Maybe it'll be the last place in Oregon, I don't know, or in the West Coast, but it will still be a place for agriculture. Just because we're next to Portland or next to Salem does not make me believe that it has to become developed. Like what you're talking about from Sacramento to San Francisco, because we drive down that way occasionally as well. I definitely do not want to see that happen. Ben's had his hand up there.
Yes, along that line, which is kind of economic development, which is kind of the theme for the last few minutes, agriculture is the largest economic sector in Marion County. And over 50% of Oregon and Marion County, and therefore French Prairie, that I really care about, farms are less than 250 acres, which by definition means small revenues, small profit, a struggle to make a decent living. So what do you think the county can do to help make small farming prosperous, it being such a major part?
I've learned a lot about French Prairie recently and what they're trying to do with their branding. And I think that that is something that when we look at economic development, we need to look at what can we do to help with the branding efforts that folks like French Prairie are trying to do to make it possible for a small farm to make a profit. I think Marion County needs to partner with them to help make that happen. They need to be more involved in it. I would say right now they're more focused on just the industry side. And they also need to look at the farm communities and the tourism side more than they already have. And that's how I would approach that.
Can I make a comment? It really becomes a question of intergovernmental relations. I would suggest that's also necessary beyond the examples he gave and reaches to Oregon Department of Agriculture in Clackamas County. So what, you may not be aware of this, but I'd ask what is your view on the possibility or the prospect of Oregon Department of Agriculture doing a new Aurora Airport master plan and that process excluding or not including Marion County?
Okay, so I have to ask a clarifying question on that one.
Well, it's a rhetorical question, but ODA is in the process of starting a new master planning process for the Aurora Airport, pushed by business interests that want to expand the airport. And the behavior of the county commissioners not being involved in intergovernmental activity means that ODA may well be doing this on their own without the county involved. Just like the county has not been involved in any of the other small government activities in Freilinger.
I would want to be involved in those discussions. I would try to insert myself into those discussions. What decision I would make or what position I would come on that would depend on, once again, looking at the jobs created and the impacts on the area. But I would want to be involved in that. I wouldn't just want to assign them to the state and the Aurora Airport to talk amongst themselves about how they're going to do it.
The city of Aurora will be very happy to learn that that's your position.
Speaking of the farmland, and it is very precious in Oregon, and developers have been allowed to just totally ruin it. Even the Kaiser Station, especially. But anyway, there's a neat thing that I went to last summer, sponsored by Friends of French Prairie, and it was a dinner at the beautiful store. It was wonderful. And at this dinner, we had locally grown food. And all the farmers who grew it were at the dinner. And they each got up and said, I grew these potatoes, and this is how I did it, and this is what I'm using to grow the food, and what else he grew. And I raised the pigs that we got this pork. It was just wonderful. And, you know, I wonder if more things like that, as a commissioner, if you could help local communities have things like that in their areas. That brings attention to people about what is being grown and would help stores maybe pay more attention. Our stores in Marion County, the grocery stores, it might help them say, oh, okay, these people want local. Maybe we'll start paying more attention to these farmers and their products.
Right. And you know, I think what I would say on that regard, first thing I would say, was there a county commissioner there?
No.
It sounds like a good time and a good event. And so I already have plans, whether I get elected or not, of going to that.
Yeah.
And I would likewise share my experiences like you have described with people in the business community. As I already mentioned, I plan to stay a member of SECOR, and I would share that with them as well. I don't want to take away from the marketing efforts that groups like French Prairie do to try to market their products in the way they want, but I, as a county commissioner, would support them in marketing their own products and that would involve those types of things, which I think would be a great idea for the farmers around Silverton or the farmers out in the state to look at doing as well.
Yeah, there are enough people to eat all the food.